The morning sun peeked through the fake curtains, casting golden rays across a small, cozy bedroom. In the center of the room, atop a cluttered desk, sat a hamster cage. Inside, nestled amongst wood shavings and a half-eaten sunflower seed, Mr. Nibbles stirred from his slumber. His little paws stretched out as he yawned, blinking away the remnants of a dream about endless wheels and rivers of treats. The day seemed like any other, or so he thought. Suddenly, the door burst open. The kid, his owner, zipped in and hurriedly grabbed a backpack, barely noticing the world around him in his morning rush. As he dashed out, the cage rattled and the latch wobbled uncertainly. With a tiny click, the door eased open a crack, unnoticed by human eyes. Mr. Nibbles' nose twitched as he caught the scent of adventure. His ears perked up and his dark, beady eyes sparkled with a new kind of mischief. Today, he would break free. Today was not for spinning wheels or gnawing on cardboard tubes. Today was the day of the great escape. He shuffled to the cage door, glancing over his tiny shoulder to ensure no one was watching. Then, with a deep breath, he squeezed through the gap and tumbled onto the desk below. The surface was a landscape of pencils, notebooks, and forgotten marbles. A playground for a hamster with a dream. Creeping forward, he eyed his next conquest. A bright red toy car, just the right size for a daring rodent. He clambered up, struck a heroic pose on the hood, and imagined triumphant music swelling in the background. With a twitch of his nose and a push from his back legs, he launched the car over the desk's edge. It soared through the air, wheels spinning wildly, as Mr. Nibbles let out an exuberant, "Whee!" The car landed with a thump onto a waiting pillow, bouncing once, twice, before coming to a stop. Mr. Nibbles rolled out, dusted off his fur, and stood tall. From hamster wheel to Hot Wheels, he definitely had style, but the adventure was just beginning. Surveying the terrain, Mr. Nibbles set his sights on the couch, a towering mountain in the living room. He scampered across the floor, dodging building blocks and scattered socks, until he reached the base. With the determination of an explorer, he scaled the fabric cliffs, gripping every tuft with his nimble paws. At the summit, he planted a gum wrapper flag, staking his claim as king of the couch. Suddenly, a shadow fell over him. He froze. From the depths of a nearby blanket, Socks, the family dog, lifted his head and sniffed the air. His floppy ears perked up, and his tail wagged slowly, sensing an intruder. Mr. Nibbles' heart pounded. The world slowed as Socks's massive snout drew closer. Mr. Nibbles squeaked, "Giant fur monster! Retreat!" and sprinted away, his tiny legs a blur. Socks gave chase, all paws and slobber, his nose mere inches behind. Mr. Nibbles dove into a tissue box, sliding through the soft paper tunnels, and emerged on the other side, safe for now. He darted into the kitchen, where everything seemed twice as large and twice as dangerous. The floor was a tiled expanse, and the counters soared above like cliffs. Mr. Nibbles paused, catching his breath, but his respite was short-lived. With a sudden beep, a Roomba whirred to life. Its blinking lights and spinning brushes spelled trouble. "Oh no, floor monster!" Mr. Nibbles yelped as the Roomba bore down on him, its path relentless and unpredictable. He zigzagged left, then right, trying to outmaneuver the machine. But the Roomba was persistent, sucking up crumbs and threatening to sweep him along with them. Thinking quickly, Mr. Nibbles grabbed a handful of cookie crumbs from under the table and tossed them onto the Roomba's sensors. Blinded and confused, the robot spun in circles, its motors whining in protest. With a triumphant squeak, Mr. Nibbles leaped onto a chair, out of harm's way. The floor monster was defeated. For now, as he caught his breath, a faint clicking noise caught his attention. Behind the computer tower, amidst a nest of wires and plastic wrappers, a pair of bright eyes watched him. Out stepped Gadget, a mouse with fur as gray as a storm cloud and a glint of genius in his gaze. Around his neck hung a lanyard made of string, and he wore a tiny headset fashioned from an old earbud. "You're not from around here, are you?" Gadget said, his whiskers twitching with curiosity. Mr. Nibbles shook his head, still panting. "I'm on the run. The dog, the Roomba. It's a madhouse out here." Gadget grinned. Then you'd better stick with me if you want to live. He beckoned Mr. Nibbles into his lair, the hollowed-out shell of an old keyboard, lined with scraps of foil and discarded battery packs. Inside, blueprints were scrawled on sticky notes, and bits of metal were scattered across the floor. The two rodents bonded quickly, exchanging stories of narrow escapes and favorite snacks. Gadget showed off his latest invention, a soda can rocket, powered by a rubber band and pure ingenuity. "With this, we can zoom right out of here," Gadget declared proudly. "Count me in," Mr. Nibbles replied, eyes wide with excitement. Together, they tinkered away, fashioning a cockpit out of a bottle cap and adding wings made from popsicle sticks. The escape pod was almost ready when a raucous squawk echoed down the hallway. Emerging cautiously, Mr. Nibbles and Gadget found themselves face to face with Chirpy, the family's parrot. With feathers as vibrant as a rainbow and a penchant for theatrics, Chirpy stood tall on his perch, wings outstretched. "No one passes without a performance," Chirpy declared dramatically, his voice booming with the authority of a stage director. Mr. Nibbles gulped. He'd never danced in front of an audience before. But there was no turning back. Gadget queued up a beat on a nearby tablet, and Mr. Nibbles did his best to shimmy and shake. Chirpy joined in, flapping and singing, filling the hallway with music and laughter. Suddenly, a familiar bark sounded. The dreaded Socks was back, charging down the corridor in hot pursuit. Chirpy squawked, "The curtain falls! Run!" And the trio dashed for the nearest door, which happened to be the bathroom. Inside, chaos reigned supreme. Someone had left the faucet running, and water pooled across the floor. Mr. Nibbles eyed a floating plastic lid and shouted, "We're gonna need a boat!" He, Gadget, and Chirpy clambered atop the makeshift raft, paddling furiously as Socks skidded in behind them, paws slipping on the tiles. The plastic lid bobbed and weaved through the mini tsunami, spinning past shampoo bottles and rubber ducks. Chirpy flapped his wings, trying to steer, while Gadget held on for dear life. With a final surge, the raft slammed into the bathroom rug, sending the trio tumbling onto dry land. Soaked but determined, they regrouped. The hallway ahead led straight to the bedroom. The finish line was in sight. But standing between them and safety was the ultimate adversary, Meowzilla, the family cat. With fur as black as midnight and eyes that glowed like emeralds, Meowzilla blocked the doorway, tail flicking in anticipation. The music grew tense, the air crackling with feline menace. Mr. Nibbles' heart hammered in his chest. "This is it. Hamster versus Furball," he whispered, steeling himself for the challenge. Meowzilla crept forward, claws unsheathed. Gadget, thinking fast, pulled out a laser pointer he'd rigged from an old keychain. He flashed the red dot across the floor, catching Meowzilla's attention. At the same moment, Chirpy let out an ear-splitting squawk, flapping his wings and tumbling off a nearby perch. The cat's gaze darted from the light to the noise, momentarily distracted. Seizing the opportunity, Mr. Nibbles somersaulted between Meowzilla's paws, rolled under the bed, and leaped onto the mattress. His little legs propelled him across the covers, bouncing from pillow to pillow. With a final burst of energy, he vaulted off the edge and landed safely back in his cage. He collapsed onto the shavings, chest heaving, as the world outside settled into silence. Safe at home, at least for now. The room was still, save for the gentle ticking of a clock. Mr. Nibbles glanced up and noticed, with a sly grin, that the cage door remained ajar. He chuckled to himself, imagining all the adventures that tomorrow might bring. "Same time tomorrow?" he whispered, his eyes twinkling with mischief. Across the room, Socks watched from the doorway, his tail thumping softly against the carpet. For a moment, the dog and the hamster shared a knowing smile. Two adventurers, forever chasing the thrill of the next escape. As the credits roll, the adventure isn't quite over. Gadget finds himself wedged inside an empty soda can, tail sticking out, as he wiggles and squeaks for help. Chirpy, ever the performer, attempts a dramatic flourish on his spinning perch, only to lose his balance and tumble to the floor in a flurry of feathers. Socks, not to be outdone, chases his own tail in circles, crashing into a potted plant and sending soil flying everywhere. Amid the laughter and chaos, one thing is clear. In this house, every day is an adventure. And for Mr. Nibbles and his friends, the greatest escapes are yet to come.